So in this podcast, we're going to talk about your next technique, which is Petrissage, before you go and have a look at the video of the techniques. So just to define what Petrissage is, it is a lifting and physically moving of the muscle. So effleurage is about flattening and elongating the muscle or gliding through the muscle. Petrissage is about lifting it and getting movement within the muscle.
So what are we looking to achieve through this technique? So the first thing we're going to look at is reducing intramuscular congestion. So it sounds complicated, but it's actually just a removal of the sticking and blocking within a muscle. So allowing the fibres within the muscle to slide over each other. And that's something that Petrissage is really useful for. You're able to start to facilitate the movement, reducing the fascial adhesions that can often bind the muscle fibres together. So the second thing we're going to look at is intermuscular congestion and how to reduce that. And that's actually just the adhesion or friction between two muscles. And so through Petrissage, it's really useful for getting muscles to actually move over each other's sliding surfaces again.
So once again, like most massage techniques, this is actually a very rhythmical technique.
Yeah.
So you do need to get some flow in it. We're going to look at a variety of different variations within the technique. So we've got picking up, we have got skin rolling, we have got kneading, and what's the last one, Charlotte?
Last one's ringing. So those are the four key varieties, but anything in essence that picks up and moves a muscle can be defined as Petrissage. So the first one Tamsin mentioned is called picking up. So this is probably the most basic variation, and it simply comprises picking the tissue up and physically pulling it or moving it around from the other structures around it.
So you're lifting it away and getting some space in there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Trying to open it out.
Yeah, obviously you're not looking to actually remove the muscle from the body. It is simply a nice gentle lifting.
So this is quite good around sort of the peripheries of the body, isn't it? Upper traps, arms, things like that, where you can actually get hold of the muscle and lift it. Sort of down erector spinae, it's not going to really work.
Yeah, really
there,
difficult somewhere
No.
like that. And you'll see some really lovely examples of this in the video. So second one we talked about is kneading, perhaps. So this is exactly the same action as when you make bread. Now you can put a bit of welly behind this technique. It can be quite superficial or sort of quite deep as well. So you're in essence, again, you're kneading the muscle, pushing the muscle away from the heel of your hand. And that will start to get it to flow, start to get it to move, and hopefully get a little bit more sort of freeness in that area.
So kind of what you're doing with the technique is actually picking the muscle up away and then squashing it through, aren't you? So you're really sort of feathering through the fibres almost.
Yeah, that real push and pull movements I think is a really good way of thinking about kneading. So next one is going to be ringing. And that does exactly what it says on the tin. Think about wringing out a towel. So that's sort of passing it from one hand to the other. Each hand picks up the soft tissues and effectively passes it to the other whilst moving it around and giving it a little bit of a sort of a gentle twist, gentle spin on the edge of the fibres to start to get them to sort of activate and move a bit.
It's a really physical technique, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It puts some torque through the muscle, so it stretches in a slightly different way that you might normally stretch it, which is really nice. The last technique here to talk through is skin rolling. This one is, it's not used often, but it does actually have some really useful areas. So it's really, really good around scar tissue or adhesions within the layers, the upper layers, isn't it?
Yeah, where there's sort of like fascial adhesions under the skin, connective tissue, that's where this is particularly useful. Difficult on some areas, much easier to do sort of on the back, shoulders, round through the ribs. A little bit possible on the calf. You might find difficult on areas such as quads, and arms can be a little trickier as well, but possible in some places if required.
And basically all you're doing with this technique is picking up a small section of skin and then just rolling it through your fingers. Yeah. So you'll see on the video how easy the actual technique is. It's just finding the right places to use it. So it's one you've got to experiment with.
Absolutely.
Again.
So the key things to watch with all Petrissage techniques, and that is that you're not pinching the tissues. Because you're picking them up and you're moving them around, passing them from hand to hand, there's a risk you're going to pinch someone. It's going to be really quite uncomfortable. So do be aware of that.
And don't target tissues too long with this technique either. You don't want to go at it for sort of half an hour. You need to introduce other things into it. So what you can do is do some ringing, then effleurage through, and then come back to the ringing if you feel you need a bit more of it. Don't just keep going at it.
So watch the video, have a look. There's some really lovely examples of different areas and how the different techniques can be utilised in each of those areas. And let us know if you've got any queries.
Enjoy the video.